This is a spoiler filled summary of the book The Count of Monte Cristo. I'm going to try to make it brief. There is a sailor named Edmund Dantes, and Dantes is to be married to a girl named Mercedes. Dantes is probably 19. He's about to get married, and all of a sudden there are some officers who come on the day of his marriage to arrest him. They arrest him and take him away. He thinks there's been some kind of misunderstanding and he's going to be released soon, so he's just hopeful. However, they take him to a prison in a dungeon and they leave him there. He thinks he'll get out in a day or a week. His father or one of his friends is going to bail him out or something like that. However, he remains in that prison for a very long time. In the prison, he miraculously meets this old man whom they call a crazy old man. And the crazy old man ends up teaching this guy 5 languages: German, English, like Spanish, Arabic. And he teaches him all he knows about chemistry, biology, various things in life. And this kid of 19 learns a lot from that guy. And probably 5 or 10 years he teaches him. At the age of after 14 years of being in prison, he somehow escapes. And upon escaping, he realizes now the only trade he ever knew was being a sailor. So he ends up being a sailor on somebody else's ship. He earns some dollars, and there's one secret which the old man gives to this guy, and the secret is about some hidden treasure on an island somewhere. So he memorizes where exactly the treasure is placed, and he doesn't have any faith in the fact that he's going to find any treasure, but he ends up going to that island, ends up finding that treasure, and that treasure amounts to a lot of money. And he realizes who did this to him, because the old man has amazing logic and perspective. So he realizes the people who did this to him, because he relates his entire life story to the old man. And the old man tells him who did this to him, and he plots his revenge. He comes across as a character named Count of Monte Cristo, because the island where the treasure is called Monte Cristo, and he develops various identities to further his revenge. Now, one of the guys whom he plots his revenge on is now husband to his fiancée. So one of the guys who did this to him secretly wanted him out of the picture so that he can marry the person whom he loved, named Mercedes. Edmund loved a girl named Mercedes. Mercedes had a very good friend named Fernand. Fernand was one of the people who wanted Edmund gone from Mercedes' life and his life. He takes a revenge from that. He wants to take a revenge from that guy. So that's one guy. There's another guy named Danglers or Donglers. Danglers is again one of the guy. He's masterminds behind his being taken away, and he's the one who frames him in this entire setup. Danglers was also a part of the ship on which Edmund used to work, and he kind of felt jealous towards Edmund because Edmund, being much younger than him, had so much of life in him and so much of experience. So he envied his position. Danglers, not a nice guy. So he wants to plot his revenge against Danglers. The third guy in this entire thing is the guy who puts him in jail. The jailer, the government body, the public prosecutor, who ensures that Edmund remains in jail because he has some vested interest in it. It turns out that the jailer's father is in cahoots with Napoleon Bonaparte, and they're anti-royalists, and he lets Edmund remain there because if Edmund somehow comes out, his father will be caught in this trap. The fourth guy is someone whom when you're reading the book, you think is guilty also, as being part of the coup that sends him to jail. His name is Carderos or Carderuso, and Carderuso is also somehow in the plot, but Edmund doesn't find him guilty. However, as you get to see in the book, Providence comes to him eventually. So one by one, through various characters that the central character plays, he plots his revenge on the four guys. How does he plot the revenge? Well, I'll make this very brief. He befriends the son of, Fernand and Mercedes. He poses as a very big client to Danglars. Danglars is now a banker in later life. After 19 years, he comes out, right? From the age of 33 to 43, I think, in the next 10 years, we trace his life in the book. And there are many other characters involved. I want to say there are about 35 to 45 more characters in the book. And somehow I remembered all the names. It took me 7 days to finish this book. In the end, he has avenged more or less everyone, but he's sad at doing so, and somehow his heart is not in it anymore, and he feels that though he went into this with a very Christian intent of being forthright and getting revenge, he feels the Christian in him somehow needs some kind of redemption. And so he does, in the end up, feeling a bit sorrowful about this. He does make a friend in the book, and that friend is his ex-employer, his ex-boss named Morel. Morel is the ship owner who hires Edmund, and he makes sure Morel's family is looked after forever. He befriends Morel's son Maximilian, and Maximilian and Edmund always have a friend, but he never lets anybody know. He doesn't let his enemies know who he is, and he doesn't let his friends know who he is, unless in the later pages of the book he lets everyone know who did this to them. And that's the book. Of course, I'm not going into what happens and how he plots the revenge and does everything, but that's the book for you. He ends up taking his revenge. One of the guys commits suicide. One of the guys wants to commit suicide because he destroys his family. He unwillingly, he destroys his family. One of the guys sees his doom come to him even though he doesn't deserve it. And another guy is ruined, completely bankrupt. The rich banker, he's completely bankrupt by the end of it. Almost, there's a lot of humor involved also in his demise. So that's a summary to the best of my ability of The Count of Monte Cristo. 10 good things about the book. Teaches you a lot about Paris, man. There's a lot of Paris in this book. You learn about life in prison and what you would do if you were in prison, and that's just fascinating, what you're capable of. Teaches you a lot about despair, and you can't imagine a life worse than this guy. Teaches you a lot about uprising, about a phoenix that truly rises from his ashes. So in that, it has amazing candor and prowess. Number 5, this book has 117 chapters. It took me a week to read, though I wanted to finish it in 2 days. It was just impossible. And it's massive, so you learn so much. Number 6, he's a solitary figure in life, and he doesn't ever fall in love with anybody else. Number 7, I learned about 80 to 100 new words, and I'll probably remember 20 of them. I feel as though I have lived another life, a very big life, an entire life, in just 7 days, and my brain has traveled to unforetold territories and a lot of sequences. 2 other things, man, you can tell that. You can sense what other things are there in the book which you will appreciate. Should you read this? Yes. Is this a desert island book? Yes. Do I give this book full marks? Yes. Will I ever read a book like this again? Probably no. How many times did I try to read this? Well, in my 20s, I attempted it twice. I also attempted reading this 2 years back. And this is my fourth attempt at reading this book, and I finally finished it. And I want to say I read for about 50 hours. 40 to 50 hours I read for. There's a lot of reading, and for most of it I read on my Kindle. And towards the end, I made the font really small so that I can read well. And you know what? It was absolutely worth it. This is among the top 100 books I have read, and maybe among the top 50 also. But I just finished reading it at 6 a.m. this morning. It's 11:56. Oh, it's 11:56. I hardly slept. So yeah, I finished it at 6 a.m. this morning, and it's 11:56 a.m. right now. I slept for a bit. I've just had 2 coffees. I feel amazing. I feel like a man of the earth. Go read The Count of Monte Cristo. Is this the biggest book I've ever read? I've read War and Peace, which is way bigger. I've read Don Quixote this year, which felt bigger. And I've read quite a few other books. I've read Middlemarch by George Eliot, which is massive. I've read Great Expectations is not that big. I mean, read quite a few big books in my life, but this one seems special and big, man. I'll tell you right now, this year is looking amazing for me because I've read Don Quixote this year. I've read this book here, and I've read Tale of Two Cities this year. Not a good book. So, yeah, man. I hope my summary was helpful. If you're still watching, rock and roll.